Oh, that's not good, Raziel. Not good at all. Hello everyone, welcome back to Soul Reaver 2. Boy, it's been a while since we last played this game. I know I said that for almost every game, but it's really been a while in this case. I haven't played this since May. So last time we left off, we had finished confronting Mobius, and he sent us pretty much 50 years into the future, where everything's wrecked. So now we gotta go hunt down Janos and see if we can reach him. So we already got the light Reaver, we got the dark one. The next one on the list is the Air Forge, which is actually one of my favorite sections in the entire game. Maybe the favorite section of the entire game. How have you all been? I've been playing a lot of Donkey Kong recently. I'm almost finished with the game. I've almost 100% completed it. It's a pretty damn good game. On its own, I don't think it's quite a reason to own a Switch 2 yet, but if you're also playing Mario Kart World and a couple other games on there, then it's definitely one of the major reasons to buy the console. It's a very, very inspired and, I wouldn't say unique, but very creative video game. And we haven't really seen anything other like it from Nintendo before. You can just destroy pretty much almost every portion of the entire setting, the entire environment. Also been playing some of Death Stranding 2. That game is long. I don't think I'm even halfway through it yet. It just takes a long time to build everything you need to in that game. Build up the roads, build up the infrastructure. It just takes a while. And there's so many missions you have to carry out for so many different citizens pretty much of Australia. So that game's easily like 100 hours plus. Easily. So these are the demon hunters. They're not vampire hunters anymore, since there are no vampires in this time frame besides Kain. These are demon hunters. And from what we saw in the last video, they're actually quite effective when they work in unison with each other. They actually took down a few demons last time. So they're not quite the pushovers the previous troops were. I was watching a video on how 2001 redefined video games. There were a lot of classic games included on there. I thought for sure they'd include this one, but apparently not. I guess despite the incredible story, it's just the gameplay's not quite good enough to warrant including it on that list. But there were some pretty decent entries there. Metal Gear Solid 2, obviously. Silent Hill 2. Final Fantasy X. There were a lot of them. Devil May Cry. So there were a lot of classic games on that list. But not this one, which is a shame, since I still think it has probably one of the best video game stories of all time. Trying to remember how we switch between the graphics. Oh yeah, there we go. It's R3 on the analog stick. Yeah, definitely got quite an upgrade, but I still don't quite like how he's less blue in this version. Looks more like a bluish purple to me. The cloak hangs better around his shoulders though. It always looked odd over here. It's like it's sticking to his frame. But nice detailed work on the ribcage though, even in the old PS2 graphics. So in order to get where we need to go, we first had to pass through the Elder's lair. So we're gonna go visit the Elder God first and see what he's been up to. Oh, but first we have to make a little pit stop at the pillars for a little scene with Ariel. One thing they really could have done in this game was having the environment change a lot when you're in this future time period. That would have given it some replay value or some novelty. If you actually saw the environment change a lot, because it hasn't really changed that much so far. Damn, this one's not even fighting back. But that's the downside of being a very linear game, that there's not much incentive to replay it unless you're just wanting to experience the story again. Unlike the first game where gameplay is actually pretty fun, this one is purely story based, so there's not much incentive to replay it after you're done, unless you just want to hear all the fine voice acting again. Which it is legendary, but still, they could have done better. Like I said, I guess that's why it's not on the list. Oh damn, we got 3. We might have to abandon this one. Yeah, screw these guys. We're getting the hell out of here. And now they miraculously just vanish. Yeah, we're not putting up with that. It always bugs me that the weapons disappear.
So familiar to my blighted eyes. But now that I had begun to learn their true significance, I regarded the pillars' destruction with a new, enlightened sense of horror. And I questioned now whether Kain's simple refusal, his mere ambition, could truly have caused such devastation. I felt that some darker influence was at work here. As I approached, I discerned the spirit of Ariel, bound here now for more than a century.
Forever am I bound, hope abandoned, my spirit tethered to this place. What destroyed the circle could not touch me, for I was newly dead and beyond harm's reach. I alone was spared the descent into madness, and Kain alone was spared the pain of death. When Napraptor's poison seized Kain even in the safety of the womb, much more than just his destiny was lost. All of Nosgoth lost balance. Consider us now, both of us less than we once were. I, pure but insubstantial, and Kain, terribly real, but corrupted.
Your imprisonment here has deranged you, spirit. You fixate on Kain because you believe he is the tether that binds you here. But we both know he is not the author of your agony. The pillars were subverted by dark forces, invited by the Guardians themselves. The more I learn of your circle, the more I see a tangle of nested manipulations.
Kain handed them their victory. They sought to topple the pillars, and he was their willing instrument.
Or was he their unwilling pawn? Would it blunt your wrath to know that Kain's dilemma was calculated to bring the pillars down, regardless of the choice he made? And that the devastation would have been even greater had he chosen the path you would prescribe for him?
You are a subtle, deceitful creature. But your clever arguments do not absolve Kain. He must die for the pillars to be restored. There is no other way.
Then consider this more ominous possibility. What if Kain's death does not restore the pillars? Consider that it may simply be too late, that this world may be beyond redemption, and that you may be bound here eternally.
Yeah, there you go. You're not getting away from him, lady.
Why do you hound me, demon? You can see that I am captive here. Show me some mercy.
Like the mercy you showed your fellow guardians when you set Kain on them? Or the mercy you showed Kain when you kept him ignorant of his destiny while you used him as the scourge of the circle? Or perhaps like the mercy you showed your beloved Naprapta when you made him Kain's first kill?
You are cruel. Why do you torment me?
I'm merely looking for answers, Ariel. Very well. I'll leave you in peace. But know this about you and this purgatory from which you long to escape. You're merely at the threshold.
Ariel's lament. Yeah, don't let her get away with her hypocrisy, Raziel. You were involved in some shady stuff too, lady. So yeah, Ariel has kind of gone insane, being trapped here for, so far it's 50 years, I think. Or maybe 100 years, I think it's 100. And she's gonna be stuck there for another 1,400, eventually. Until she meets up with Raziel in the Soul Reaver era. People have questioned why she doesn't remember him, but the thing is, not only is she a ghost, but she's also been there for like almost 1,500 years pretty much at that point. So yeah, the memory's gonna go. Doesn't matter who you are, you're not gonna remember somebody you met over a millennium before. One thing about that cutscene, knowing that fate won't allow Raziel to change the timeline unless you perform some extreme actions. I wonder what would have happened if he did try to free her right there and just, you know, smack her with the Reaver to absorb her. Like, you think the timeline itself would have just held him back? Like, he would have tried to reach her with his arm, and it would have just held the arm back so that he couldn't kill her right there, or absorb her soul rather. Oh hell no! Screw this guy. Oh come on, man! There's a trophy for killing this guy, but I think it's later on. I don't think it's now, so he's gonna ignore him. Because he can't climb stairs anyway, so there's nothing he can do. Yeah, you'd think if he tried to strike her down there that it just wouldn't have worked, like the Reaver would have been held back physically by the timeline. I think so, right? Because when I tried to get him to kill Kain, it didn't work. You know, he was trying to resist it. Like, he was trying to resist it, and time just kept nudging him forward. So I think it wouldn't actually have allowed him to strike her with the Reaver, because that's not the way things go. As always, let's get rid of these vermin first so that they don't consume anybody. This was tricky because he's so low to the ground that you kind of have to run around him basically and hit him that way, otherwise he dodges a lot of your attacks. This is where we should have bothered the crows that were spying for Rodor. the crows he put here that are his spies. We should have bothered them to get the trophy, because it said disturb all the crows near the light forge, and I think this area counts too. It has to be all of them. One thing about that cutscene also is, like he says, there were two endings in the original Blood Omen. This takes place in the one after Kain pretty much refuses to heal the pillars, so this is the bad ending basically. And what he says about Kain's ambition not being the only thing that caused the destruction makes sense, because at the same time, like, how does just refusing to heal them cause them to decay so rapidly? You know, like, and we see later on in another different game, we get to see the cutscene of when they became so corrupted, and those things basically exploded. So that can't be just because of the decision he made. That had to be that him being linked to the pillars had a profound effect on them, and him being the balance guardian was also what killed them pretty much. But it does make you wonder, because in the original game, even though it had the good ending where he sacrificed himself and pretty much saved everyone, it never really felt right, even without Soul Reaver, because it's like, after all that's happened in the games, everything Mobius did, everything the Circle did, everything that happened, like, you pretty much just let him get away with everything, pretty much. Because Mobius didn't care one way or another if he got killed, so killing him basically did nothing. It restored his pillar, but it did nothing else. It didn't fix the timeline he created, didn't solve any of the messes he had made, so that ending always felt kind of false, because it's like Kain sacrifices himself for this world, so what? I mean, for what? What does he basically accomplish? Nothing, pretty much. Like, yeah, the world is saved, but then everyone got away with everything they did. Mobius ruined the timeline forever. Nobody will ever know what Kain did. And because there's no one left to basically advise the Circle, the same thing's just gonna happen all over again, over and over, because there's no one left who remembers what happened. So basically, it's not even a positive ending at all. It's just one of those fake good endings that some games or movies has, where you think everything's alright in the end, and it's really not. And of course, now that we have the hindsight of playing through the other games in the series, we know now that based on this scenario, if Kain had actually refused and killed himself to restore his pillar like Ariel claimed, it probably would have worked only for like a few seconds before the pillars themselves just exploded completely. You know, the barriers between dimensions would have just come crashing down, and all sorts of things would have gotten into the world, because there will be no vampire left who's linked to them. So Raziel is right. It actually might have been way worse had Kain done what she wanted him to, because it could have just unleashed all sorts of hell, not just the bad climate and the demons we have now. It does make you wonder about an alternate timeline of what would happen if Kain did actually do what she wanted him to, and then the people there quickly realized they were screwed now. That would have been interesting to watch. These guys are relentless. They just pursue you all over. There's so many of them too. I kind of hate the combat barriers also. A lot of people complain about them, and I can see their point too. The fact that you're pretty much stopped in a lot of rooms by those barriers and you have no choice but to fight. Compared to the original, where you could run, or you could, you know, stun them and then get past them. You had a lot more options at your disposal in the original compared to this version of Soul Reaver. Alright, let's see what old Squid Face has been up to. Yeah, it's food for thought, the different scenarios that could play out depending on whether Kain did what Ariel wanted him to or not. Most of them are pretty bad. So yeah, if you think about it, if Kain had done what she really wanted him to, yeah, she would have been free, but then everyone else would have been screwed. All of humanity, pretty much. Oh. That's not good, Raziel. Not good at all.
Raziel, the failed assassin. You had Kain at your mercy, but lacked the courage to fulfill the act. And now you see the wasteland wrought by the tyrant's hand, by his selfish decision to preserve his own life, even when it meant sacrificing the whole world. This is the fate of Nosgoth, as long as Kain remains alive.
An ironic condemnation, given this guilty sin. One would think you'd torn down the pillars single-handedly. What are you trying to obliterate as you drag your loathsome body through this chamber? And why, as Nosgoth descends into madness and misery, do you appear to thrive? Things in this world, I am learning, are rarely what they seem. You, apparently, are no exception.
I am the engine of life, the source of Nosgoth's very existence. I am the hub of the wheel, the origin of all life, the devourer of death.
Or maybe you're just hungry. Could it be as simple as that? Wouldn't that be poetic irony? The great adversary of the vampires turns out to be the biggest parasite of them all.
Do not test my patience, Raziel. I made you, and I will unmake you if I become so inclined.
As your agent, I am beyond death.
There are fates worse than death, Raziel.
Oh, I see you now as you truly are. A cancer, a spooling parasite burrowed deep in the heart of this world.
Go now. Play out your pitiful rebellion and take your place among the destroyed, the used, and the damned. But know this, you are mine for eternity. You have always been, and will always be, my Soul Reaver.
Yeah, man, what's up? Thousands of people are dying, and here you are getting fatter and bigger. Hey, we got a trophy, Reaver of Souls. That means we fed the Reaver 10 different enemies. Yeah, he's just destroyed this chamber. Look at that, he scraped off the murals on the walls, the paintings. He's grabbing the stubs of the pillars. You notice the pillars are broken. How do you think that keeps them linked? Do you think it's just like spiritual power, like since they're like almost living entities, like even though there's a gap there, there's still like some energy radiating between them? It's gotta be, right? Because how else would you restore them if you were able to restore the central pillar? I guess they're pretty much like living organisms that would just grow again, grow upwards into the sky. Yeah, how convenient, right? What a coincidence that as as soon as he finishes being angry with demons attack you. Right. And Batman v Superman was a good movie, right? That was actually a good movie? Hell no, that's more than a coincidence right there. I'm not gonna get too deep into it because you'll find out later in all sorts of stuff later on in Defiance. But I think in that moment when when the Elder was angry and Raziel started to defy him, I think as punishment he basically kind of opened up the dimensional barriers a little just to let those demons slip inside. Because if you think about it, he's supposed to be this giant, all-powerful bringer of life. Like he says, he's the center of the wheel of fate. So how would those demons be able to get in here without his permission? Like, shouldn't he have actual power to repel them? You know, they shouldn't be able to get in here at all. And you notice outside, they don't follow you down the steps. So they know something's here that they don't want to mess with. So the only way they could have gotten in here, inside this chamber, is if he let them. If he just for a moment let the dimensional barrier slip, if he just opened them just a tiny crack, enough to let those two demons through. So yeah, we're gonna leave Cthulhu here alone for now. Let him stew in his anger.
Tread carefully, Raziel.
Oh. He has another one which sometimes he'll say, where he tells him, you're a puny creature, much more fragile than you realize. Because obviously, even though Raziel seems invincible, the Elder knows what he is. He just doesn't want to say exactly what he is, but he knows. What do you think about the restoration work done here, about the eyes? You prefer the new ones or the old ones? The old ones kind of look more like a coral, or like a squid's eyeball. These are a lot dark. They're a lot darker in tone. I thought they looked pretty alright as they were originally. Not much difference here.
You are a puny
Oh, there he is.
More fragile than you realize.
There it is. There's the line right there. He's got to insult you twice. Once not enough. So yeah, we're gonna let Cthulhu stew in his anger for a little bit. There's a damn exit. Because we gotta go back to the swamp. I was gonna say the forest, but it's not a forest, it's a swamp. It would help if we could actually see in this murky water, you know? If we could actually see where we're going. That's a lot of them. See, how are they getting into his lair? He's supposed to be his all-powerful god. Oh, look at that one. That one's working on his exercise. He's not even interested in hunting us. He's just toning his calf muscles. But yeah, he's supposed to be his all-powerful god who controls the world. Why are these creatures getting inside his lair? Unless he's letting them in himself. That's the only explanation. There you see an ancient shrine. We can see a lot more clearly now that it's not submerged. And this is basically a shrine built by an early civilization to the Elder. We don't know who they were, but it's definitely a shrine built by humans. Or maybe not humans, the precursors to humans. There's also the symbol for the fire. No, that's the air reaver. We'll get that later. So it was definitely some precursor civilization that built that that altar. Actually, it might have been humans now that I think about it, because whoever built that altar has to have seen him. And even though he has a species that used to be his favorites, as we'll learn later on, they couldn't actually see him. So someone who built that altar had to have actually seen what he was. I don't remember which way to go. Because we need the Dark Reaver to cross the bridge, but there's no forge over here, so I wonder can we actually glide over there? There we go. Yeah, but there's no way to activate the Dark Reaver bridge. Maybe we could just glide over there. Let's see. Let's give it a shot. Oh no, we fell way short. That wasn't even close, so we need to find the Dark Reaver somewhere. But where is it? It has to be near the altar, right? That's the only place where we might be able to find one. I've been playing Donkey Kong so long that I keep wanting to combat roll. I forget Raziel doesn't have a roll. At least not in this game. He does in Defiance, but not here. Oh, I think it's at the top of the altar. Let's see. I think it's at the very top of the altar. Oh no, there it is right there. I see it. And we're gonna have to shift over to the Spectral Realm soon because we're running out of energy. Yeah, these guys will steal the energy from the forges, so you basically have to kill them to get it back. The Wraiths. Let's get back to that bridge before we run out of life. It is very easy to get lost in this series of caverns here, since it all looks the same. God damn, we're going in circles. Alright, here we go. Yeah, we gotta make our way back to the bridge. There we go.
You will die now.
There we go, now we have the Shadow Bridge. But it's only temporary though, so it only lasts a few seconds. We're not even gonna bother with this guy. I don't have nearly enough health for that. And if we got killed there, we probably have to go all the way back down to where the altar is to get more health, so hell no. We are not doing that today. Now these guys have minor equivalents, smaller type entities that you see on the ground. You actually get a trophy for killing them, but I heard they're actually very rare to see them. So it's not quite that easy. These are actually called mutants. They're pretty much mutated creatures that are developed in the time after Kain rejected the sacrifice. So since nature is all screwed up, we're seeing mutant creatures evolve. Oh, come on. I just hope there's a portal nearby so we don't have to go all the way back down. Oh, so there's one right there. Nope. You do not get to snack on that soul while Raziel's around. There we go, we cleared the area. Making the afterlife safe by killing one parasite at a time.
Beyond this edifice lay my sole hope of escaping this demon-infested wasteland. The time-streaming device contained therein offered my only prospect of journeying back into Nosgoth's early history. Unless I discovered some means of breaking the seal, I was condemned to be stranded here eternally.
Yep, so that's our next task on the list. We gotta get into the time-streaming chamber for Mobius here. And you can't break it until you get a certain Reaver that allows you to break walls. So we gotta proceed further into the swamp. This is probably my least favorite time period in the swamp because the swamp is already so full, and with the rain being non-stop, it basically makes things worse. Damn, killed him just like that? 2 hits? That's all it took, huh? I guess he must have been fighting the mutants or some of the demons, and they did a number on him. Because that only took 2 hits. It should not have been possible to kill him with just 1 punch and 1 kick. I think they're called groundlings, the smaller version of these mutants, but I'm not seeing any of them around. I wonder what those creatures were before they got mutated. What do you think they were? They can't have been humans. Almost looks like some type of lizard. I wonder what they were. I'm keeping an eye out for those small enemies, because they only spawn in this time period, so if you don't kill them here, you're not going to see them again, and that basically there's no opportunity to get the trophy. And they spawn near these guys, but I'm not seeing any of them around. I was gonna say I think I see one, but that's actually a frog. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's just a frog. So where's the smaller enemies? Who do you think's gonna win, the mutant or the two dumbass humans in armor? Let's keep our distance. Oh, he got one of them. That's an epic fight right there. Who's gonna win? Oh, they got him. They actually killed him. Too bad for these jackasses. Here comes a much deadlier prey. Yeah, those guys worked for Mobius. I don't feel sorry killing them. Not the slightest bit. You know what, since it's raining, let's dry this guy out a little bit. There you go. Now you're dry for the rest of your life. All 2 seconds of it.
The passage of time had indeed cleared my way forward, enabling me to explore the northern mountains of Nosgoth. I was anxious to discover if some evidence of Janos Audron's existence might still remain.
Oh damn, that one snuck up on us. I didn't even hear him coming. I was trying to look for the smaller versions of them, but I'm not seeing any around. There's nothing over here. Yeah, it's just pure luck whether you spawn some or not. But if we don't get any, then you can't get the trophy. Maybe we'll see some later on in the area. Oh wow, they actually killed one. So they are actually pretty good. They're pretty good at their job. The other guys suck, but these guys actually kill some of the enemies. Which is how it should be. The enemy should never be attacking you only in a video game. You know, it should never be that they just attack you and no one else. They should attack other enemies that they don't like. It shouldn't be just the whole world against you all the time. Because that's silly. Like if they had a pack of demons here, or they had these two mutants and they just focus on attacking you, that would be ridiculous. So it's actually decent to see them fight other enemies and kill them too. Because sometimes what I've seen in other games, especially I think it's like Fallout, they'll attack other enemies occasionally, but they don't kill them at all. They wait for you to kill them, which is completely unrealistic, even by video game standards. Okay, now they just shadow boxing. We'll leave those guys be, but I think the human's probably gonna win. Just because he has a weapon. And he's smarter than the other guy. But yeah, that's always a pet peeve in video games when enemies only attack you and they don't attack any other enemies that they're supposed to hate. Because like if you're on, say if you're in Arkham City or Gotham City and you have guys from the Penguin trapped in the same place as guys from Two-Face, why wouldn't they attack each other? They hate each other, so why would they put aside all the differences to attack Batman? They're still going to try to kill each other, so it makes no sense. Especially here where they're demon hunters and they're hunting the mutants and demons in the wasteland. It would make no sense if they put all that aside just to attack Raziel. I actually like it better that they do attack each other. Unfortunately, there's no mutants here, so we gotta deal with these guys ourselves. Unless we can climb that wall. Let's see. Let's see if we can get there. Ah, but one has a cannon, so he's gonna shoot you down. Oh, two of them have cannons actually. So yeah, they'll just shoot you down for the wall. Oh no, we made it. Nice. If you look on the back of the box of the PS2 version, when I first saw this, there's a screenshot of this area, but it's in a different time period because it looks so unnatural. I thought it was like some type of interdimensional landscape, and no, it's literally just a tunnel in the mountains. That's why it looks that way, of all the lines and stuff. It's literally just a carved tunnel in the mountains. But I thought it looked like something else when I first saw that screenshot. Here we go. I'd say these are probably the most annoying, next to the fire demons. Because the toxic one is pretty easy to deal with. They barely defend themselves. But these guys, these are annoying. Yeah, they just block your attacks with those claws, those pincers they have. But it's worth it to kill them just for the amount of energy they have. Look at how much energy each soul restores. So that's why you kill them, because it's just plain convenient. It helps to regain energy. Alright, we got our full health back. Let's take out this guy too. Those up and down swipes are brutal. He just carves them right in the middle. So how have you all been? I actually got a couple of lucky breaks financially. I finally got a winner from betting on the PGA Tour, even though it was a small one, but I finally got a winner. I also had some good luck and won a couple other things too, so I should be fine for now. So that was a nice welcome break. You know, it's not all rotten luck non-stop. There are some good breaks in the past couple weeks. We gotta kill this guy because he won't let you open the bridge otherwise. There we go. Now here we're gonna pass through a site that should be very familiar to Blood Omen fans, mainly because of the name, not necessarily the appearance, but the name. Look at that, there's that Seraphim symbol. Why did he drop the sword though? That's annoying.
Here I discovered the quaint hamlet of Ustenheim, now long abandoned and collapsing into ruin. Legend claimed that Janos Audron terrorized its villagers until the Seraphim hunters ferreted him out and destroyed him. If there was any truth to the old tales, the lair of the infamous vampire could not be far away.
Here we go. These guys aren't too bad, the green ones. They look like lizards, but they're pretty easy to kill. It's the electric ones that are annoying. Those and the fire demons, especially once you get a darker red fire demon later on. It's almost brown, but That one's a bitch to fight because he's almost invincible. It takes a lot of damage to take him down. Those are more like the forearm demons from Blood Omen that were really difficult to deal with. Unless you had the Soul Reaver. Back off, dog. I don't want to kill them, but it's better to have Raziel do it than having them just be used as weapons in this miserable timeline. They're better off that way. Now, some people complained about the appearance of this village. I thought it looked pretty cool when I first saw it on this game, Soul Reaver 2. But some people complain because it doesn't look at all like the version we saw in Blood Omen. But the thing is, Blood Omen was a primitive PS1 game, so all the towns and cities pretty much looked the same. It was just a bunch of farmhouse-like buildings, one after the other in like a plain green pastoral area, so there was no detail to them at all. And it was kind of funny that at one point Kain would visit his hometown, or his home city of Korhagen, and he claims it was home to the finest universities in Nosgoth, and it just looked like a bunch of farmhouses strung together. That's because they had no technology to work with, and Blood Omen was a big, massive game, so obviously you needed to cut some corners, so that's why those cities all look like that. But it's laughable that people thought this actually looked worse than the one in Blood Omen, when the one in Blood Omen is literally just a series of farmhouses scattered throughout the area. Like, it is nothing compared to this. Is it a bit jarring to see this place so detailed and looking more like a real lifelike setting? Yes, it is at first, but at the same time it actually is better. This looks like an actual area where people might live, instead of the whole oh, it just looks like a 10 or 12 farmhouses right next to each other. That doesn't look like a town at all. This actually shows some architecture and some craftsmanship and skill. And like Raziel said, it's rotting now, but it was probably pretty vibrant in its heyday. So I don't mind it, but people gotta complain about everything, especially old-time Blood Omen fans who never got over the fact that the series was sold to Crystal Dynamics. They wanted Silicon Knights to keep working on it and create quote-unquote a real sequel. Only problem is Silicon Knights sucked. They were shady as hell. They were probably one of the shadiest companies in gaming, even compared to EA and I was gonna say Electronic Arts, but they're the same thing. Compared to EA and Activision, that's the one I'm thinking of, Activision. Even compared to those two, they were pretty shady on their own. And it's one thing for publishers to be shady, you know, these giant, massive companies. It's another thing for a team of developers themselves to be shady. That's kind of inexcusable when you have a whole team of game programmers and writers and, you know, producers and pretty much the whole company, but it's not a major company. It's the people actually making the game, and they're shady as hell. That's not something you encounter often. Usually developers are the victims of shady corporations like EA or Activision or Ubisoft, but in Silicon Knights' case, they brought literally all the trouble themselves. They were the main cause of their own problems, and they just would not back off the BS that they kept doing because Dennis Dyack told them to. Now you can actually seal this if you want. Even though there's nothing pursuing you, you can actually seal it if you want, just like that. I guess I would stop if there were like a dog enemy pursuing you. It would stop them right there, or a human enemy. Yeah, Silicon Knights was shady as shit. I don't miss that company at all. I only wish the two worthwhile games that they made besides Blood Omen, being Twin Snakes and Eternal Darkness, were available on the Switch, on Nintendo Online. Other than that, I'm cool with them being gone because They were like Todd Howard or Peter Molyneux. They always over promised and under delivered. Even Blood Omen, I mean not Blood Omen, even Eternal Darkness, which was the quote-unquote masterpiece, even that has some serious flaws behind it. This one actually put up more of a fight. But yeah, the problem with Denis Dyack was that, well, I guess is because he's still alive, but the problem with him is that he's one of those know-it-alls who thinks he knows better than anyone else. And he thinks because he went and got a classical education in literature and a fancy university that he knows how to write a story better than anyone else. But the problem is those masters that he studied at the university, you know, the classic authors like Mark Twain and, you know, Chaucer and all that stuff, like they were making things up as they went along. So they weren't they didn't go to fancy universities themselves in many cases. They were just making things up as they went along. So like the idea that you have to have a bachelor's or a master's degree in English literature to be able to write a decent story is absurd. You know? Especially nowadays in an age where we know and we're pretty clear about what constitutes a good story and what doesn't. We know what the rules are. So this idea that you have to have an English goddamn, I'm getting tongue-tied, but that you have to have an English lit degree to be able to tell a basic story is insane. But that's the way Denis Dyack thinks. He literally thinks you have to go to university, study English literature for 4 years to learn the basics of writing a decent story. And it's like, have you never read a book in your life? Really? Never read the encyclopedia? Never went to the library? You haven't read articles? You know, you haven't read online guides to writing? Like, it's insane, the idea that that's literally what he said in one interview, that his games were different because he had an English literature master's degree. I don't know if it was a PhD or not, but he had a master's degree, and he also had like I said, the people working with him also had advanced degrees in English literature. And it's like, you don't need advanced degrees to tell a story, especially when the story they ended up telling sucked in Too Human. That game was awful. So it's like all that education didn't serve him for anything. Whereas I don't know where Amy Hennig went to school, but she wrote a much better story than anything Dennis ever did in any of his games, period. Like, the only reason Legacy of Kain is even remembered nowadays is because of Amy Hennig's and the Soul Reaver series. If it were just Blood Omen by itself, it would have been forgotten. It would have been a curiosity in video game history, and that would have been it. No one would care about it nowadays. No one would be begging for a remake or a remaster, and there would be none of that. Kain would never have become one of gaming's greatest characters. It's just, that's all due to Soul Reaver. So I don't know if Amy has a fancy storytelling degree from a high-class university like he did, but obviously she was a much better story than he was. She was a much better storyteller than he was. Because outside of Blood Omen and Eternal Darkness, his stories actually sucked. And Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes was obviously just a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, so he wasn't responsible for that writing. Kojima was. Kojima and his co-writer. So yeah, Dennis is just one of those guys who talks a big game and then doesn't deliver anything. And I hate guys like that, who think they're better than everyone else, but then they don't deliver on what they preach. You know, if you're gonna build yourself up as being this master storyteller, you have to deliver a master story, otherwise you're just a hack. I mean, I write a bit of fan fiction for stories like Silent Hill and some of the CW shows and stuff like that. I've even written a little bit for Legacy of Kain, even though I haven't completed it. But the thing is, like, I think I'm a pretty good writer. Now, after years and years of practice, I don't know if I can make a living off it, but I'm pretty, I think I'm pretty good, but am I great? Hell no. And I'll be the first to admit it. I am not a great writer. I think I'm pretty good at writing fanfics, but I'm certainly no professional master writer. Damn, that looks painful, the way his spinal column is bent like that. It's like Gumby. That looks painful, Jesus. But yeah, I will never claim to be some type of master storyteller. I just know the basics and stuff I've picked up along the way. So like, I would never go out and say, oh, I'm gonna write the best Star Wars story ever written by a fan. That's the other series I write for, sometimes Star Wars, but I would never claim to be a master storyteller who's gonna write the absolute best fan fiction for Star Wars in the history of the series. But the problem is, Dennis is that type of guy who he sets out to write say he's writing a vampire story. He says, oh, I'm gonna write the best vampire story ever written in the modern age, and then he doesn't deliver jack, so he's basically a joke. And on top of that, he was an abusive boss too. We know the stories coming out from that company. He was a skeezy, abusive perv. So it's like he talks a big game and then he just has nothing to back it up with. And that was the whole problem of Silicon Knights' history, that as several ex-employees put it, it almost felt like there was a playground for one man. And whether that vision actually made any money or not, you know, is he didn't care. All he cared about was his ideas and nobody else's. And it's not like Kojima, where Kojima has a vision for a game, but at the same time he's aware of the facts. He realizes a series has to make money, and it also has to appeal to lots of different people. It can't just appeal to you and no one but you. Because even Death Stranding, once people get over the weirdness and the slow pace, even that has its fans. You know, that has a lot of fans. It sold pretty well. And not just because it was a Kojima game, but an example of Dennis Dyak's philosophy is how he screwed up X-Men Destiny, where for many years he claimed he would never make an Eternal Darkness sequel. They had no interest. Well, guess what? Later on, many years later, Silicon Knights is struggling big time. So he gets it in his head, you know what, we're gonna make a sequel to Eternal Darkness. We're gonna call it Shadow of the Eternals. And he starts working on that instead. Problem is, he was already contracted to do an X-Men game, X-Men Legends. I mean, not Legends, X-Men Destiny. Legends is the RPG series, it's X-Men Destiny. So he's already got a contract to deliver a game for that series, but instead of doing that, according to ex-employees, he took all his employees, or most of them, and set them to work on the Eternal Darkness sequel, and basically had a skeleton crew working on X-Men Destiny. You know, the main game that they're supposed to deliver for a company so they can actually get paid. You know, the financial project that warrants your utmost attention, and he's just ignoring it in favor of Eternal Darkness 2. And despite all that, the most they get done on Eternal Darkness 2 is just one stage, I believe, that was incomplete, and it was a church stage, and that was all the work they ever got done on that. So imagine that this man jeopardized his entire project for X-Men, which he was getting paid big bucks for. He took all that money and resource and time and put it into one stage for Eternal Darkness 2 that never even got off the ground, and it was just a huge, colossal waste of time and money. And then he's wondering why the companies don't like him. You know, they don't like you wasting their money for no reason. That wasn't what he was contracted to do. He was contracted to make an X-Men game, not Eternal Darkness 2. You had your opportunity to make Eternal Darkness 2 and you screwed it up. You left your partnership with Nintendo to go out on your own because you didn't want to be under their control, and it turns out that you were under their control for a reason. You were much better off with them than you were on your own ever. And he just didn't want to admit that, and it became a whole legal firestorm basically, as he did more and more skeezy things, like stealing and changing parts of Epic Games as gameplay engine, and then claiming that he had the gall to claim that they gave him a faulty engine and they needed to fix it or upgrade it or something like that. And it's just the judge saw right through it. That judge threw the book at him for the whole debacle with Too Human. Like, he was just, I tell you, Dennis Dyack is just an absolute scumbag of a human being. And that's why I'm glad that Legacy of Kain was able to get out from under him, even if it was by less than savory means. You know, the methods Crystal Dynamics used weren't quite they weren't quite legitimate, but at the same time I think they realized they were dealing with a bit of a scumbag who was just gonna let the series rot for the next 15 years. So they took it from him. And to be honest, I don't care one bit, because like I said, Dennis Dyack sucks. He's just an awful, awful human being. And his company sucked too. Like I said, they produced a couple hits. Twin Snakes, the original Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, and Eternal Darkness, and that's pretty much it. All the rest of the games are trash. So you had this grand company that fancied themselves as some type of revolutionary game developers, and all they produced in that time was just 3 decent games. Everything else was garbage. So that shows you exactly what Dennis Dyack's level of professionalism is. The man is not a professional, he's just a hack. And I'm glad that Kain was able to escape out from under him, because what Crystal Dynamics did with the series, and Amy Hennig, what they did with the writing for the series, is unmatched by anything that Silicon Knights ever put out. That's my little rant on what happened with the series there. Let's toss this sword all the way up to Janos' tower right over there. See where it lands. Oh, there you go. It actually stuck in the wall. Nice. Yeah, sorry for that little rant right there, but yeah, that's just like I said, that's there's a whole history behind how Legacy of Kain ended up at Crystal Dynamics, and not all of it is pleasant, but at the same time, I don't think anybody outside the most hardcore Blood Omen fans regrets that the series ended up at Crystal Dynamics. Because if not for Crystal Dynamics, it wouldn't have been a series in the first place. It would have been just one game that was eventually forgotten by the rest of the world.
This edifice was clearly not crafted by human architects. As the figure beneath the balcony silently attested, these were the Ares of winged beings. Undoubtedly, I stood before the mountain refuge of the legendary Janos Audron, but the entire sanctuary lay in ruin, collapsed under the force of some ancient cataclysm. As I suspected, the time streamer's deception ensured that I was centuries too late to unearth anything of consequence here. With nothing behind me but the wasteland I had traversed, I resolved to press on and explore these canyons further. Oh no. Every time you turn up, something monumental and terrible happens. I don't think I have the stomach for it.
No drama this time, Raziel.
You are persistent, crossing time like this to follow me. Still waiting for that coin of yours to land on its edge.
I'm biding my time. I see that Mobius has played a little trick on you.
Yes. He clearly doesn't want me to meet this Janos Audron.
Perhaps. Or maybe he merely hoped that it would harden your heart against me, to see this wasteland which I single-handedly authored.
My heart doesn't need hardening, Kain. If I even suspected that destroying you would make any difference, I would do it this instant.
I knew you'd see through them, Raziel. Janos is indeed the key to your destiny, but you'll need to find your own way back into Nosgoth's past. Make no mistake though, Raziel. You and I are now in great danger. We are irritants here. Malevolent forces are being marshaled to eliminate us.
You talk as though we're allies.
Regardless of your sentiments, Raziel, in their eyes, we are.
Well, they're certainly trying to eliminate you, Kain. There can be no doubt of that. I am assaulted relentlessly with demands for your demise. Whatever it is that you're plotting, they're scared to death of you. As for me, I suspect they made a grave error when they allowed my unique resurrection. I don't think they know how to destroy me.
You mustn't underestimate them, Raziel.
And who exactly is this diabolical they to which we keep referring? If there's some grand conspiracy going on, the right hand doesn't appear to know what the left is doing. Even Mobius seems to be caught out at every turn.
Mobius is a puppet, Raziel. Haven't you realized that yet? That's the sweetest irony in all of this. Nosgoth's great manipulator is their plaything. But the ones pulling the strings haven't shown their faces yet.
They don't like us unwriting their carefully choreographed history, though, do they?
You must understand, Raziel, we haven't unwritten history, we've merely rewritten it. The future flows around our petty actions, finding the path of least resistance, while admitting only the slightest alterations. This is the reshuffling you felt when you refused to kill me. And remember, Raziel, we are irritants in this regard as well. History will not allow the introduction of a paradox.
And if events cannot be reshuffled to accommodate the change?
It is the irritant who's expelled. Bear in mind that this may be exactly the outcome our enemies are trying to provoke. We must tread very carefully.
The ruined Eyrie. Now I don't remember if there's a safe spot somewhere around here. I don't think so. I think once you get to this part and then you proceed down the tunnel over there to the air forge. I think there's no safe spot. So what I'm gonna do is I might go back and save and then. Oh crap! It fell all the way down. I was gonna say I might go back and save and then do the air forge next time, because I just noticed it's kind of late and the air forge is actually it's a section that takes you around half an hour to do. So I don't know if I want to push the recording, because then on top of that we're gonna have to come back all the way to where the safe spot is, so that could end up making the video like 2.5 hours long easily. So I think we're just gonna go back and save, and when I start the next time, what I'll do is I won't start the recording until we're actually over here in the area where Janos' building is at. Simply because, like I said, it's gonna be like 20 minutes or 30 minutes doing the puzzle, and then we gotta walk all the way back to where the safe spot is, so that's gonna take a while. And like I said, there's no place to save over there at all. There's nothing, so I'd rather not risk it. The only bad part is we have to go past these fools again, but we can just ignore them. We can just ignore them. That's the only downside of the save points being like they were in Blood Omen, where the altars look cool and all, but at the same time it is a hassle not being able to save exactly where you want. Thankfully, at least we have the Ustenheim save point over here, so we can just go back in the street and save as soon as we kill these guys. Yeah, because I wanted to do the air forge, but I just forgot how long this section is. It's a long way. I think it would have helped if instead of saving where we did outside the Seraphan stronghold at the beginning, if we'd have just saved in in the Elder's Lair. I think that would have helped a lot. But what's done is done, so nothing else we can do. The good news is that once we complete the Airforge puzzle, we can just proceed further into the next era of the timeline, which is obviously going to be Nosgoth's past. But yeah, the Airforge is majestic to see, so I think it deserves its own video, because that is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in a video game. In terms of architecture, design, you know, creativity, it rocks. It looks like an ancient Aztec temple pretty much, so it is quite a sight to see. We're gonna set the sword down here too. I want to see if it saves. There's a dog, but I don't think... Damn, he actually found us. I was gonna say I don't think he's gonna find us in here, but no, he actually came down here to die. Stupid attack dog. Oh, look at that, his body doesn't disappear. Not immediately. I guess to make you want to feel bad for what you did. Yeah, we're just gonna save here. At Ustenheim. These save spots, like I said, they're pretty and they're very well designed, like the fountains in Blood Omen, but it is kind of a hassle that you can't just save wherever. You have to save these spots. Because like I said, there's no save spot in between this and once you get to the Airforge, so it's a long way to go without saving. Raziel cracking his spinal cord there. His spinal column. So yeah, we didn't make nearly as much progress as I wanted to, but at the same time, we covered most of the wasteland. We saw Raziel's, I mean not Raziel, we saw Ariel's little insane rant over there about Kain and how obsessed she is. We saw the Elder God and that he's up to no good, where it seems like the worse Nosgoth is getting, the more he's growing. He's actually growing into something huge. So he is Cthulhu in a way. He's not some benevolent protector, at least. At the very least, he's duplicitous. He's profiting from all this, but exactly how, we don't know. Like, what is it about the area getting worse that actually leads him to grow? Well, we don't know that yet. We will eventually, but not yet. But at the very least, he's not to be trusted. And like Kain said, we still have a whole other group of manipulators who haven't even shown who they are yet, so there's obviously a lot more going on here than even Raziel believes or knows. And that's one of his main flaws too. That's actually one of the things that makes Raziel both endearing and frustrating at times. The fact that he thinks he knows better than everyone what's really going on, and the truth is he's actually the most ignorant character in the entire series, outside of just the random circle members. Because yeah, he thinks right there he's got a handle on things, and he thinks he's invincible at this point. It's like, no, you're not invincible. There are ways to dispose of you that you just don't know yet. And he's so arrogant too. And it makes for a great character, but you know, in a story, that type of character is pretty interesting, but at the same time, it also means he's gonna get fucked with. You know, they're gonna jerk him up around a lot, from place to place, and doing things to things that he probably shouldn't be doing, because he doesn't see it. He doesn't see the traps he's walking into until it's too late. So very interesting character that they created for this series. Very flawed type of hero. I'd even call him an anti-hero, because he starts off as one in the original Soul Reaver 1. He's only interested in vengeance. The whole saving the world things comes second. You know, it's the excuse he gives as to why he's pursuing Kain for so long, but really he just wants revenge. And then now he's starting to become aware of the bigger picture of what's going on and what's really at stake in his mission into the past. So now he's growing as a character and as a person, but he's definitely a very flawed, very arrogant type of individual, which makes for a pretty decent protagonist for a series. You know, like you can find it fairly easy to root for him, but at the same time you also know he's kind of full of shit compared to Kain and Mobius and all those other guys who actually do know what's going on. He doesn't. He's just making educated guesses or assumptions about what he thinks is going on. And as you'll see later on, even by the end even by the end of this game, he's actually very wrong on some of the things he thinks he knows about the world, about Nosgoth and his place in it, and what his actual destiny is. He is very wrong on some of those aspects, but like I said, I think this is still one of the best stories in gaming, even some 20-something odd years later. This is still pretty damn good storytelling. It's just a shame that the game itself doesn't measure up from a gameplay standpoint. You know, the game was incomplete. It was rushed to meet a certain release deadline from Eidos. So unfortunately, the game is not as good as it could be from a gameplay standpoint as Soul Reaver 1. But from a storytelling standpoint, this is still one of my top 5 favorite stories in game, period. I love this story, and I love the exquisite voice acting the cast and crew prepared for it, so I'm enjoying it. I do wish they put a tiny bit more detail into the remaster though, because you can see that they did cut corners a bit. It's not quite the awesome work the remaster of Soul Reaver 1 is. This one, you can see by the minimal texture changes, this one could have used a few more months, you know, in the oven. It could have used a bit more time cooking to make sure it looked really, really good, but it's still a good game. I definitely recommend it, if only for the story and the incredible, excellent voice acting that you absolutely have to hear at least once in your lifetime. So I definitely recommend it, and I believe it's on sale now too, so you can get both games pretty cheap. You know, 1 and 2 remaster. I think it's like on sale for like $10 or $15, so it's pretty cheap for what I think are some pretty damn good video games. So when we come back next time, we'll go straight to the Air Forge, which is one of my favorite, if not, like I said, the favorite area of the game for me. Maybe probably my favorite area in the entire series, because it is just a very well designed, very colorful, very exquisitely detailed area to solve a puzzle in. It's just you have to see it to believe it. So that's definitely next time, and after that we'll head into the past to see if we can find Janos Audron and find out exactly who he is and what he has in store for us. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I will see you again next time on Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 2 Remastered on the good old-fashioned PS4. See you later, everyone.